We were lost in overloaded tunnel visions. We were exhausted, always in energy-sucking arguments. There seemed to be a glitch in the system that turned optimistic visionaries into either power-hungry lunatics or bitter workaholics. I wanted to become neither one. I worked in the film industry for many years. I was motivated, ambitious, full of energy. However, the longer I worked in the film industry, the more I discovered unhealthy behavior in my working context. And even worse, within myself. Eventually, I felt like I needed a change of perspective. I left the glamorous but often precarious movie business and went on an exciting learning journey. I dived into all the aspects on how we work together and how we can change this towards a future-oriented, human-centered culture. And the one aspect that was most exciting to me personally was the question on how we handle conflicts. Why did conflicts occupy my mind so much? I grew up among a bunch of siblings. A bunch. I use this word consciously. Talking about conflicts, there is an ongoing conflict in my family on how many children precisely we are. That's not even a joke. The number of children depends on who you ask. Rather humble voices would say 5. Moderate ones claim there's 7 of us. Others would strongly argue 8. Well, imagine this bunch of children. Just pick a number. We were a lively bunch. Lovely, extroverted, smart. However, in our conflict behavior, we were rather dramatic. When we subconsciously chose a strategy for dealing with conflict, the first choice was fighting. We would insult and yell at each other. We would use the very long corridor to hunt each other back and forth, wrestle each other down, pull each other's hair, bite or pinch. We lived in an apartment on the 3rd floor. Our downstairs neighbor and her broom were regular guests when we had arguments. She would have knocked on her ceiling with the broomstick to make us stop. And eventually, the old lady would furiously climb the stairs to our apartment, ring the doorbell until we stopped our riot and hid away under our beds, hoping to become invisible. Becoming invisible, next to fighting, was another emergency strategy we used. Hiding away with our eyes squinted, detached from our emotions. If I ignore this conflict long enough, it will vanish. Didn't work. Conflicts do not just disappear when we ignore them. Our systems can become super busy trying to push conflict away. No, they do not disappear when we ignore them. Neither did the neighbor, by the way. When she saw one of us in the staircase after a noisy dispute, she scolded us, threatened to hit us with a broomstick next time. Seriously. Poor lady. It surely wasn't easy living 1 floor down from the bunch. Well, the third emergency pattern we used was fleeing. One day, my sister had enough of everything. She must have been around 7 years old. She packed her bags, dragged them down the stairs, entered the cold and dark courtyard, and waited for her 2 best friends to join her to run away. Luckily, they never showed up, so she returned home. Yeah. Fighting, freezing, fleeing. Do these strategies sound familiar to you? Even though you're not a child anymore? That's probably because as grown-ups, we do the exact same thing. Okay, at the best, we matured a bit and stopped pulling each other's hair. But believe me, bad-mouthing a colleague behind his back, or ghosting a good friend without giving her the chance to talk things through, is just as painful. Likewise, not cool. Looking back at little me and my siblings, we were lacking strategies outside our panic zones. Our fights created huge sufferings. We suffered because we had not yet learned how to deal with conflicting needs and feelings. We loved each other. We were important to each other. However, completely panic-zoned, we didn't know how to solve conflicts peacefully, find ways that work for everybody. And it is this question of how that kept me busy, still keeps me busy. How can we let go of these destructive patterns and solve conflict constructively and maturely? And what evolves from this when we manage to do so? To begin with, all we need is a hazelnut. I would like to invite you to search your back pocket for a hazelnut. If you find a hazelnut, that's perfect. If not, you can also use anything small to put in your hand, like a pen, a key, a coin, a lipstick. You can also simply use imagination if you want to. Wow, a lot of you carry hazelnuts around. That's amazing. Okay, in a second I will ask you to close your eyes, and I promise you, I will let you know when to reopen them. Take the hazelnut in your hand and hold it tightly, like this. Close your eyes and think of a conflict that is going on in your life. Maybe something happening at work, maybe an unsolved issue with your partner or parents. Now imagine that the hazelnut in your hand is this conflict. It is bothering, it's painful. It's a burden. But you can't just let go. Maybe the people involved are dear to your heart. Maybe you're scared you lose them. So you are holding on to it really tightly. And while doing so, take a moment and realize what is going on in your body. Are you tense? Can you feel how your muscles tighten? Maybe you can even hear your heartbeat race. Are you still breathing properly? How dominant is this thing in your system? Open your eyes and take a look at your fist. The thing is in there, yet you can't even see it. However, it has a lot of power over you. I invite you to slowly, carefully open your hand and look at the hazelnut, your conflict, laying there. It is still here. How does it look like now? You can also carefully move it in your hand and look at it from different angles. Are you discovering something new? How does your body feel like now? Are you more in peace? Remember the hazelnut. take it home with you. Next time you realize you've just been panic zoned in a conflict, acknowledge it. The hazelnut is an invitation to slow down and take time. Take a deep breath and realize what is going on in your body, minds, and feelings. This contemplation will not make the conflict vanish. It creates opportunity to get back in contact. What was hidden behind thick layers of he said, she said, can eventually come to light, and you might realize what was really hiding behind all the trouble. Like this, we transfer our inner trouble to the outside. We regain capacity to look at what is going on and go with like more ease into everything. And this ease helps us to find back to an attitude that allows empathy. The more empathy we have for the other person, the more empathy we can have for ourselves. There are heartwarming moments to discover. Sometimes in mediation, people can't even look each other in the eyes at the beginning of a session. However, when they decide to take responsibility, when they look at their conflict in this safe space together, they do begin to see what lays beneath. They talk to each other. They listen to each other again. They do look into each other's eyes again. Like this, we become visible to each other as humans, vulnerable, imperfect, helpless. And this is courageous. In this willingness to be seen with all my flaws and my unfulfilled needs, there lays true bravery. When we are lost in a conflict, we are not the best versions of ourselves. However, when we are lost in a conflict and take the conscious decision to hazelnut this conflict, we will experience true encounter, even if the other conflict party decides not to hazelnut. We will understand ourselves better. When I decided to hazelnut my family conflict on how many children we are, I realized something amazing. Do you remember the numbers from the beginning? 5, 7, 8? All of these numbers are true. My parents have 5 children together. A couple of years after their divorce, I was about 13 years old. My mother adopted a young boy, 2 years older than me. Another 5 years later, his younger brother joined the family, and not too long ago, there was another adoption. 5, 7, 8. All the numbers are true. Our perspectives are different. It's a matter of perspectives. However, we can agree on one thing. We are a bunch. So thank you very much, and don't forget your hazelnut.